So the plates that I made in the earlier segment have spent the day has been in the damp room overnight. So the plaster has sucked up a lot of the moisture, and so the plate is leather hard now. Leather hard is when the clay is stiff enough that it can still hold its shape, but still malleable enough to be trimmed or decorated. I'm going to start by using my initial, this is called a chop. That's borrowed from the printmaking world. It's got my initials on it. I'm going to use it while the plate's on the plaster, because I want the support of the plaster underneath to push down and make a very vivid impression. Now I can flip this over onto a turntable. So I've put the leather hard plate on a banding wheel. The banding wheel serves the same purpose as the pottery wheel in this later stage. All I'm wanting to do right now is eliminate any unwanted detail. And I'm noticing that the rim has this sharp edge I don't like and I don't want. So I'm going to use my trimming tool on the banding wheel to reduce or take away the clay that's in the way. Now, I can also refine that with this material called Scotch-Brite. I could use a wet sponge, but a wet sponge erodes the surface and starts to cause it makes it a gritty edge instead of a smooth edge. So I'm going to use a dry Scotch-Brite pad instead. Now, the challenge with production pottery is making the work unique, because so much of it needs to follow the function of, a dinner plate. It needs to be the size that can fit in a cupboard, it needs to have this sort of contour that catches the food. And so what makes the plate say I'm handmade is if I add a visual rhythm to it or texture that will affect the glaze that I put on it. That way it's more unique and seems to be and it makes it more obviously handmade. So there's lots of different kinds of carving tools. I prefer this one. This is a mud tool for doing the carving away that's going to create a visual rhythm on the edge here. I like this tool because I can control the depth of the carving better than other kinds of carving tools. This has really been designed for this sort of surface decoration. So the trick here now is to keep the gesture of my hand consistent, and notice that the bite that I take out doesn't reveal or show this plane. I'm carving each trough close enough to each other that I don't see this part, that I don't see this flatness here. Now, this looks like it might be a tedious process, but it's a lot like, here. See, I want to try to avoid that flatness right there as I go around. Once you get a rhythm started, this otherwise this would be an otherwise tedious process, but once you get a rhythm started, it's sort of like weaving. You can move right along, and it's sort of meditative. This would be a time to put on some music that is like that, is meditative. So now that I've put the texture all the way around, before I put this on the, before I let this dry out to have it bisque fired, I want to check to see if there's any other unwanted detail anywhere. And I'm seeing this edge is a little bit raggedy, so I'm going to go back to the Scotch-Brite and do a kind of diagonal gesture right here at the rim to eliminate any, any unwanted detail that might have happened in the process of this carving away. You see how it's kind of raggedy? I can knock that down real easily with this Scotch-Brite. This is the most efficient tool for let's see, in bronze casting they call this chasing away any unwanted detail. Now, clay doesn't like this horizontal span, so it's likely that if I stage this to dry out rim up, the rim's going to dry faster than the center. If I stage it rim down, the center of the plate will dry out at the same speed as the edge. So it's pretty much a standard procedure to let the plate dry out rim down.